Hello YouTube, this is Ben Yessel. So I for this video I'm not having anything pre-planned. I'm just going to talk about some things in general tonight. I'll probably do more than one video. But I'm just gonna try to let some things just come. And I might make a lot, I might not. A lot of videos tonight. Might not. And they might go a lot of different directions, but they might not. I don't think they'll get emotional or anything. I usually don't tend to be overly that way. Maybe occasionally. So, anyway, here goes. So, I thought maybe I'd start out, and this might have a little bit to do with the recent video I made. Let's just start out by explaining a little bit more about myself, which I've done before, but maybe in some things, maybe I'll be a little bit more thorough about in this video. What I have tended to spend more time on in the past, what I'm spending a bit more time on recently, and how this all affects things like online media and things, and social media. And as I talk, some things might become clearer to me, some things might become clearer to you, in fact. And maybe we'll all kind of benefit a little bit. But right off the bat, I should mention that one of the best things about where I live right now, again, is the scenery. I love the way this whole area looks. Over Lake Forest Park, it's just a beautiful area. Lake Forest Park is, and I'm gonna have to film some of those areas sometime too for you guys. It's just gorgeous. Just very hilly and beautiful, and some really nice looking houses that have kind of a nice northwestern style. Some of them maybe more modern. Some of them, I don't know. And then we have Kenmore, which I showed you a little bit of Kenmore, and you have Kirkland, which is just amazing as well. There's a beautiful golf course overlooking. Well, this is more the Juanita area, overlooking Lake Washington, and I can keep going. It's just this whole area is amazing, really. At some point, I'll be ready to move. I know. So, anyway. So, I might have mentioned this before, but I'll mention this again, but more about when I was a little guy. So I was born January 16th, 1978, Lafayette, Indiana. And when I was born, my dad was getting his master's in business administration at Purdue University, and we were hit by tornadoes here and there. Myself, my mom, my dad. When I was one, my dad and mom, we all moved to Livonia, Michigan, and I have vague memories of living there, and we lived next to some family. The last name was the Vosses or something. Anyway, they're kind of Scandinavian German or something, but they're really nice folks, and we had a lot of snow there, and I had a lot of nightmares for some reason when I was 1 and 2, and actually more than 2 ballpark. I remember even back to when I was 2, I have memories still from that young. I had a lot of nightmares back then. For some reason, I just was very, very sensitive, very much so, and yeah. Anyway, yeah, and then we moved to Washington State when I was 2.5, I think. My brother Tom was 1, and or in that ballpark, I think it was. Yeah, 1.5. Anyway, so we moved around from Bellevue to Kirkland to Redmond a bit when I was a little boy, and I have again many memories of that area. And sorry to stop this train of thought. There's some folks need to, I think, have quieter engines. Sorry about that. So anyway, so that was all when I was a little guy. I moved to Tacoma, or at least my parents moved to Tacoma when I was 5. I didn't want to move, of course. I loved my kindergarten. I'm in Rockville Elementary School. I had some friends there, and I was very nonplussed to move to Tacoma, or at least University Place. But that's where I grew up, mainly, and experienced what it was like to be bullied when I was somewhat younger. So I had some good friends. Not too many, always just a few. And I always felt like I was a lot different than most kids, but I always had some friends. And then I think I've mentioned a bit about my younger years before in other videos, so I might not cover that so much in this video. At least life in University Place. But that was my whole world when I was growing up, was that area. And when I was graduated from high school, everything kind of changed, of course. But much of the way that I just am, and much of the way I do things, it is very influenced from my parents, very much so. And I seem to have sometimes my dad's approach to understanding people somewhat. Then I have my mom's sensitivities in some respects. Many respects. My mom, she and I both have these sensitivities about people. My dad has a lot of intuition and he just is very, very sharp and very aware. My dad's very, very aware regarding different qualities people have. He just knows things. He can, he's very, very, extremely, insanely perceptive, really. I mean, my dad is just so amazing. But the way my mom and I both, we can kind of sense things up people, and we know kind of when someone is having a tough time. You can kind of sense these things. Anyway, so sorry that wasn't too much about my early life, but I'm very close to my parents, more so than most people at my age, I think. And anyway, I was going to mention some other things in this video. What was it? Oh, so I'm eventually going to get to online media a little bit here. So how I spend my time? Well, when I was growing up, I used to, when I wasn't doing schoolwork or anything for classes or anything like that, when I was younger, projects, I would sometimes spend time with friends, but not really a heck of a lot of time with friends. A lot of time I was playing board games with my brother, or hanging out with my next door neighbor buddies, exploring a forest, or this is interesting, this road I haven't really been down before. I wonder if it's a driveway or a road. Anyway, I'm gonna do a U-ey here. Anyway, So, yeah, I mean, I would spend a lot of time reading the encyclopedia, reading our 1980s encyclopedia. My family had the World Book encyclopedias. I would just read those all day. I mean, as long as I could. When I wasn't doing homework or playing with friends, or when I was 8 years old practicing piano, and starting when I was 11 or so, especially in being at 14, I would play a lot more French horn. But yeah, I spent a lot of time reading the encyclopedia along with other books. I mean, I read other books, but especially I was always reading nonfiction. It's just learning and absorbing as many things as I could about all kinds of subjects. And it's helped me throughout my entire life. You know, you think you go to classes and then you go to college and you have more general education, which I didn't like so much. I want to get on with music and stuff, but of course, all that general knowledge does help you out, because I mean, it just helps you. It's hard to explain, but if you meet somebody from like Taiwan, instead of being completely clueless about that person, I can say, I know you guys aren't exactly the same kind of people as Chinese folks, and the old name for Taiwan was Formosa. They have the Formosan Strait. You have people there that look a little bit different than the Chinese. You have people that were originally just there before the Chinese came in, right? And you have, I don't know, you know, the capital is Taipei. You can say these kinds of things because you've read them and you've seen pictures and you know a little bit what to expect. And maybe you might have furthermore, as a point of reference, different countries around Taiwan that might help you have some kind of context for understanding people from that area. So if you know people from Vietnam, you've read about Vietnam, or the Philippines, and of course China, and specifically southern China, you know, Hong Kong, and you know maybe Okinawa, or I don't know, you know, Cambodia, Malaysia, etc., etc. You mean like once you get into that, the more you understand kind of that Southeast Asia, you know, South part of China thing, it's every little bit of intuition and knowledge helps. But I was just reading all the time when I was younger, all the time. But I was also, in addition to reading, I was doing a lot of creative things. I was a lot of drawing. I've always drawn since I was like a little boy, a very, very little boy. I was drawing cities, and I was drawing good guys and bad guys, and I was drawing the red team and the green team and the blue team, and making lists and categorizing things. And you know, when I would encounter unpleasant people my age, bullies, people I was trying to understand better, people that I was upset by, and I couldn't work things out with those people at school, when I was drawing, I would sometimes have some kind of substitute for that person and some other character I was making, or some other team I was making, like the bad team, the evil team, you know, and I would put some of the qualities of those bullies, those not so nice kids, in the qualities of the mean team, right? The red team, or whatever, you know. Yeah, I don't know how many kids do this, but I was certainly one of those kids. I mean, this is the way I try to, I mean, sometimes you can't, I'm sorry, some people are being kind of loud over here. It's a little bit unusual for this kind of neighborhood. I thought I was the loud one making videos on my phone at night, not for YouTube. Nope, I guess there's some other people that like to yell really loud. Anyway, well, I remember what Central Washington University was like that way. So, anyway, so I was one of those kids that would draw, imagine, try to make sense of things, try to be at peace with everybody, and get out those negative things via my imagination, via writing, via drawing. And my parents have always wondered why it was I made all these lists and drew things, and it never made complete sense to them. And I don't know exactly why either. I could say, oh, it's Aspergers Syndrome, right, to my extent, but I could say, there's an intellectual side, there's a imaginative side, a need to express myself. But there's definitely an emotional side. That emotional side has always been there, and if you're a more introverted person, you're a more sensitive person, and you're not really great when you're younger at talking to people that are giving you a bad time, sometimes just being able to draw things and write things is the only thing you can do. I worked with another lady who has a boy who, I kind of sensed some things about him, more or less, that were similar to the way I was. And for the longest time, I never really talked to this particular person about the side of me, which maybe I should. But her boy, he's now a young man. Well, man, I tell you what, it makes perfect sense to me why he is sometimes a certain way, and why he might be like cartoon continuing drawing and things. Because it isn't just about upset emotions, it's often not. But it's like you just need to kind of get away from everything for a bit. Just to be rational, to be able to just kind of keep dealing with the dumb, stupid world we live in, right? You need some time to disconnect from that, be your own thoughts for a while, work through your own feelings and thoughts, including drawing and writing and things like that. It doesn't, you could have a fierce temper and be a tough little like young man. You could be a jock even, and you can still have these qualities. You don't have to be this shy little boy. All kinds of young men. I'm mentioning young boys and young men in particular here, and guys, but girls can be very much the same way. Probably most of the time, it tends to be a quality that occurs with more sensitive folks or more, withdrawn folks, that sort of thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. But basically, we're not talking so much about your Wall Street brokers here, folks. This is not the sort of personality that lends itself well to being a shark, right? Yeah, we're all a little different. Again, I made a video about this before. If we don't realize that we need to share what we have to the extent that is reasonable, perhaps, but if we don't realize that it's something that's important to do, to the extent that we can do that without giving too much of our stuff away, that's a very important thing to learn in this life. People that keep all this stuff to themselves, they're gonna die not having what they have to show for their life, right? Their whole life they've been acting like Scrooge, and they have amazing mansions. All this stuff that they left behind, hopefully they're going to go give it to someone that's important to them or dear to them. But they're dead. They're not going to be able to use any of that stuff anymore. I mean, what's the point in that? It's kind of stupid. What I'm going to do, by the way, I'm going to make at least some more videos tonight, but I might have to go recharge my phone soon. But getting back to how you spend your time, how I spend my time, I might say that for another video. How I spent my time more recently, and how I could spend my time a little bit more in the future, as well as YouTube stuff. I'll mention that maybe the next video. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, with this train of thought, that the way I think and feel and just kind of respond to the world, that has a great deal of influence regarding how I spend my free time, as well as my goals and things. But a lot of us don't operate in the way that you see these super goal-oriented people operate. It's like all these workshops and things seem like they're designed for people to just think and just live differently than many people like me. I've always thought, in my case, that the more imaginative I could be, along with some courage regarding networking and that sort of thing, and also learning certain skills, those are the things that will help. But I've never felt like being a bully or being really direct with people will ever help me that much. So I've never tried to change my personality in that way. But as you get older, you do learn how to be a little bit more that way, in such a way that you can express things without feeling like you're offending people. But you can learn how to be clear in a work situation or in other situations. At the same time, I feel like maybe at times I might be a little bit stuffy, or I might talk in a kind of a stuffy way, or in a kind of aloof way. But in all honesty, that's just a means to organize my thoughts better. There's a side to me that can be extremely emotional and really, emotionally reciprocal and really more me. And there's not often too many people I feel I can really be that way with. And it's so important to me that there are people like that in my life. Sometimes I just kind of live a lot of times in life, I just kind of live my own world in a way. And I think a lot of folks that are similar to me probably have these qualities about themselves. There is no class I ever took that had to do with networking as a music major, and certainly not a class that had to do with networking for music majors that are more sensitive and introverted, or have Aspergers Syndrome and that stuff. So, anyway, I'm going to make a part 2 to this. Hopefully there's some substance in here. Hopefully you're getting some of this stuff. I think we're a lot alike in aspects in general. So, maybe some of the stuff might be hitting home for you guys, some of the stuff. And maybe some of the stuff is a little different. But sometimes people get the wrong idea about me, especially online. And that should be one of the things that should push me away from being online. But, for some reason I just, there's too many people to meet online. And granted, the communication itself is weaker, maybe not as immediately deep, but it means something. The more I put into these things online, like talking to people over time, getting to know them better online, it actually can be meaningful. Just that I have to have the right priorities here. I have to kind of not get too out of whack there. And which is easy to do for a lot of people online. But when you're talking to someone who's really cool and more for real, you should be able to put a little bit more stock in talking to that person, which is one of my desires, at least for this channel of mine, along with many other things. So, catch you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.